Most people think of salt as something small and harmless, just a pinch you throw on your food to make it taste better. Something that sits on the table in a harmless little shaker, something you don't really have to think about, and maybe in your daily life you pour it without even looking. A quick twist over your fries, a shake over your curry, a sprinkle over your eggs, a packet opened over your instant noodles. It feels like nothing, especially compared to big, obvious habits like smoking or drinking, but when a little extra. Salt stops being little and quietly becomes your normal every single day. Your body begins to live in a hidden storm that you can't see from the outside. Only feel in tiredness, heaviness, and numbers you don't notice until much later. Imagine a typical day in your life and count honestly how many times salt shows up, even if you don't add it yourself. You wake up and maybe eat bread with cheese or processed meat, which already come loaded with salt. You grab some packaged snacks later, like chips or crackers, which are designed to be salty so you can't stop eating them. Drink instant soups or instant noodles that use salt and flavoring to make cheap ingredients taste strong. You eat fast food where fries, sauces, patties, sauces, and breads together create a salt bomb. You dip things in ketchup, soy sauce, chili sauce, all loaded with sodium. You might think, I don't add much salt. I'd barely touch the shaker. But salt is already hiding deep in the foods you choose, and when you eat like this day after day, you are living in a sea of salt without even seeing the water. At first, your body adapts quietly, because your body is always trying to protect you. Your kidneys work harder to balance fluids and flush out the extra sodium. Your blood vessels tighten and relax, trying to adjust to changes in volume and pressure. Your heart quietly beats a little harder to push thicker blood through slightly more tense vessels. You don't feel any dramatic pain, no alarm goes off in your head, so you tell yourself everything is fine. You're young, you feel okay. You still can walk, laugh, scroll, do your daily work. So what's the problem with a bit of extra flavor? The problem is that salt has a direct line to one of the most delicate systems in your body, your fluid balance and blood pressure. If there is too much sodium in your bloodstream, your body reacts by holding onto more water to dilute it. That extra water increases the total amount of fluid in your blood vessels. Like pouring more liquid into a closed hose, the pressure inside rises. Your heart is forced to push against that pressure, and your vessel walls feel that constant force from the inside. Over time, this can make them stiffer and less flexible, even if you can't feel it at first. You may start to notice small signs that something is off before any doctor ever mentions blood pressure to you. Maybe your face looks a bit puffier in the morning, especially around the eyes. Your fingers feel a little swollen when you wake up. Your rings feel tighter. The marks from your socks leave deeper lines around your ankles. Sometimes your shoes feel tight for no clear reason. You blame it on weight gain, heat, or just water retention, without connecting that a constant flood of salt is ordering your body to hold on to extra water. Some days you might get headaches that feel like pressure at the back of your head or around your temples, especially after especially salty meals like instant noodles, chips, or heavy restaurant food. You might feel your heart pounding harder than usual after eating, or notice that you feel strangely thirsty all the time, reaching for water, then reaching for more salty snacks, then more water, stuck in a loop where your body's trying to correct what your taste buds keep doing. Salt also has a quiet influence over your cravings. The more you eat, the more your tongue gets used to that level of flavor. What once tasted perfectly seasoned now tastes bland. So you add more, pour more, reach for saltier snacks. You might say, I like strong flavors. But often that preference is just a trained tolerance to high salt. Your brain associates that hit of salty crunch with pleasure, so even when you're not hungry, you grab a packet of chips, salty nuts, or instant noodles just to have something, not realizing that every little craving you obey is another message to your bloodstream to hold more fluid and strain your system just a bit more inside your kidneys. The organs that act as filters for your blood. Long-term high salt intake means constant extra work. They're tasked with getting rid of the surplus sodium while also balancing minerals and fluid in your body. They don't complain loudly at first. They simply shift into a higher gear and keep going. But like any machine that is asked to manage overload every single day, they can begin to wear down over time, especially if you combine too much salt with not enough water. high blood pressure, or other stressors, like certain medicines and poor lifestyle habits. Damage here might not show up until years later as changes in lab tests or problems with swelling, fatigue, or worse. But the foundation is being laid now in every heavily salted snack and meal you treat as harmless. Your heart lives in this salty world too. When your blood pressure is often elevated, even slightly, your heart has to push harder with every beat because it is pumping into a system with more volume and tighter vessels. Think of it like having to climb a slightly steeper hill every day instead of flat ground. At first you don't feel it, but after years of hill climbing, your muscles tire faster and your structure changes. In the same way, a heart that constantly pushes against high pressure can thicken and tire over time, making it less efficient and more vulnerable to problems later in life. This is why people are told to watch their salt intake when they are older or have health conditions. But the habit that causes trouble at 40 or 50 often begins quietly at 15, 18, 22, when you think you're invincible and the only thing that matters is taste and convenience. Your brain also feels the effect of blood that regularly travels under higher pressure. Those tiny blood vessels in your head are delicate and vital. And over years, a high salt, high-pressure lifestyle can increase the risk that one of those vessels becomes damaged, weakened, or blocked, which in serious cases can lead to disasters like strokes later on, the kind of sudden catastrophe that seems to come out of nowhere to someone who has been saying, "I feel fine" for years while ignoring the everyday choices that set the stage. But even before any extreme outcomes, you may already experience daily consequences that you have normalized. Feeling heavy and bloated after salty meals, constant thirst, more frequent headaches, low energy after junk food, foggy thinking after big salty snacks late at night, waking up with swollen eyes, feeling slow and uncomfortable but brushing it off as just how I am. Salt also interacts with your appearance. In subtle ways, constant water retention and slight inflammation can make your face look puffier, especially around the cheeks and under the eyes. Your jawline can look softer. Your fingers and ankles can seem thicker. Your skin can appear duller because the body is constantly trying to manage internal balance and has less room to create that fresh, glowy look. If you already struggle with breakouts or sensitivity, a very salty diet and processed food may make it harder for your skin to calm down. Since those foods often come packaged with unhealthy fats, chemicals, and low-quality ingredients that your body must process and react to. Your weight can also creep upwards without you noticing the connection to salt. Because the foods that tend to be salty are often high in calories and low in nutrients. Chips, fries, instant noodles, fast food, processed meats, packet soups, salty snacks. You reach for them because they are convenient, taste strong, and hit that salty craving. But they rarely keep you full for long, often leading to overeating, late-night snacking, and constant desire for just one more bite of something crunchy. Your body holds onto water and stores extra calories as fat over time, especially if you are also not moving much. So the scale slowly inches up while your belt tightens and your clothes feel snugger, and you might blame it on age, slow metabolism, or hormones, but you're salty. Ultra-processed habit is part of the picture. Meanwhile, your taste world shrinks the more salt you use. The less you taste the natural flavors of foods. Vegetables and simple home-cooked dishes may taste boring to you. You might drown them in soy sauce, stock cubes, salty condiments, or pickles because your tongue demands that intense smack. And this keeps you stuck in a cycle where only highly salty, often unhealthy foods satisfy you while balanced, lighter meals feel empty. This makes it harder for you to switch to healthier eating because your senses are wired to crave extremes instead of balance. You tell people you hate bland food when in reality, you have numbed your tongue to subtlety by constantly hitting it with salty punches. Emotionally. There's another layer. Salty junk foods often become comfort foods. You reach for chips or instant noodles when you're stressed, bored, lonely, or watching something. And over time, you build emotional pathways where salt equals comfort, relaxing, distraction. You might find yourself tearing open a packet without real hunger, eating the whole thing, then feeling heavy, guilty and thirsty afterwards, adding emotional stress on top of physical strain. And the more you repeat this pattern, the harder it feels to break. You might even joke that you are addicted to chips or can't live without instant noodles, laughing as you slowly build. A reality where your happiness and your health are pulling in different directions. Yet, despite all this, salt itself is not evil. Your body needs some sodium to function properly, for nerve signals, muscle contractions, and fluid balance. The danger doesn't come from salt existing. It comes from how easily you can drown yourself in it, through modern food without realizing it, and how little attention we pay to that silent overload, until it's mapped onto a clinic chart or a blood pressure monitor. The reassuring thing is that your body responds quickly when you start to cut back. Within days of reducing your salt intake, your body can begin to get rid of some of the extra water it was holding. You may notice that your face looks less puffy, your rings fit better, your ankles feel lighter. You don't feel as bloated at the end of the day. You might even see the number on the scale shift slightly as the water weight leaves, not because you suddenly burned fat, but because your body is no longer stuck in emergency mode, clinging to every drop. Your blood pressure can also begin to move toward a healthier range if high salt was a major driver. Your thirst may feel more normal, your headaches may lessen. Your energy might be more stable and less affected by salty junk food crashes. At first, food will taste strange when you cut back, because you have trained yourself to expect heavy salt. You might feel like everything is bland, dull, or missing something, and it's tempting to reach for the shaker again. But if you hold out and give your taste buds a chance to adjust, they will. Within a couple of weeks of consistently using less salt and avoiding heavily processed salty foods, you can start to taste natural flavors again. The sweetness of vegetables, the depth of spices, the richness of simple, fresh ingredients. Foods that used to taste normal may even start to taste too salty. And that's when you realize how much you were overdoing it before. You don't have to become extreme or eat flavorless food to protect yourself. You can use herbs, spices, lemon, garlic, pepper, vinegar, chilies, and other seasonings to build flavor without pouring salt on everything. You can choose less processed options when possible. Drain some salty liquids from canned foods. Use smaller amounts of soy sauce or stock cubes. Avoid adding extra salt before tasting your food. And be more mindful of how often you rely on salty snacks between meals. You can still enjoy your favorite salty foods sometimes, but not as daily staples. More as occasional treats that you actually enjoy more. Because they are no longer part of a constant habit that slowly wears down your health. In the end, eating too much salt every day doesn't announce itself with a loud warning. It doesn't knock you over in one instant. It quietly tightens your blood vessels, weighs down your heart, makes your face and body puffier, your head heavier, your energy lower, and your risk for serious problems higher, one heavily salted bite at a time. But the moment you decide to become conscious of what you're shaking onto your food and what you're buying in packets and boxes, the moment you start to choose a little less salt and a little more balance, is the moment your body can finally lower its shoulders and breathe. Your heart can beat with less struggle, your kidneys can filter with less strain, your face can relax out of its swollen morning mask, and you can begin to feel the difference between living in a quiet salt storm and living in a body that is not constantly fighting the invisible weight of what you thought was just a pinch.